Congratulations on getting your elevator pitch video shot. Not only are we now successfully on our way to becoming a bona fide green screen magician, but we're also going to be able to introduce ourselves to everyone else going through this course together by sharing their elevator pitch video backstage in the community's green room. But we still have a bit of work to do before we're ready to share this first video. I'll do my best to keep the steps simple, explaining everything as I go. But don't forget, you can always press pause at any time to let the information digest before moving on. Once you do these techniques a few times, it will become second nature. So let's jump on in.
Okay, so putting it together here in the studio, this lesson is geared towards the inner editor within you, putting it together. All right, so here we are. We've got the scene that we've been working with and coming and finding your video. So importing your video like we did the rest of it. I often will have my folders nice and labeled all nice. So this could be Act 1 supplied. And then we create a new folder, or bin as they're called here. And then I like calling that raw. Just the raw footage as we do that. So I'm going to move Brad's video down into this raw section. Where's this audio? Brad audio. Perfect. So therefore there's the supplied footage, and then this is where you start putting yours. You can do it by take, however it might look. And so this is the video from our Canon T5i, and this is the audio from the H5 made by Zoom, a field recorder. We weren't recording using its own onboard microphones. We were using a pencil condenser on a nice long extendable arm on a mic stand over top of our heads pointing down, getting our audio. So that's how we did that, recording in. So what we'll want to do is we're just going to focus on getting this video synced up today. Getting that lined up, adding some Chroma Key effects onto it, getting rid of that green, cropping it, scaling it, and placing it. That's the objective. So here we go. So let's just drag this into the scene. So you want to drag it. As you see, I'm still holding it. You can put it into layer 1 or layer 2 or 3. Gotta be careful. You can actually put it right over top of what you were doing. And the audio underneath is being affected as well. So just placing that for now. And yeah, so what we'll want to do is we can actually turn off the audio. So we're going to mute the track underneath right now so it's not in the way. And I'm just going to view through and watch where it starts. Now what you'll notice, we're going to drag, so I want to drag to see this audio clip a lot more clearly. Give myself a little more space here. Good. And so we can see we got some audio here. What does that look?
Action.
Oh, that's just an action. What's this? So you can actually hear my clip through the microphone from the laptop. And so that's me saying long elevator ride.
Yeah.
Brad responding. Great. So what we're going to want to do is line this up. So there's a good indicator to where we line it up. So I'm going to take my cursor, and when I bring it to the edge of this video clip, you see it turns red with an arrow pointing and a bracket. That means I can drag and move the beginning of that clip. So I'm just going to move it to here, give myself some space, and then I'm going to just move this clip over. Oh, a little too far. Move my cursor to the edge here where I'm going to line these two audio clips up. And then I'm going to zoom in. Now the zoom in, there's a couple options. This bar right here is our scroll bar. It scrolls back and forth, but if you click the end of it and move it in, you can zoom in. Also, if you use your plus and minus keys on the keyboard, which I always use, my preferred method, that's nice and quick too. There we go. So we're zooming in. We can see our audio clips quite easily. I click on Brad's clip and I can shimmy it over using my mouse a little bit until there, it's pretty lined up. There's another clip, maybe zoom in even more. Looks like it can actually move over. On my keyboard in Windows, I push Alt and the over key, my arrow key over, and that moves it one frame at a time back and forth. So that's as close either there or there as we can get it. That's really zoomed in, so you're doing pretty good. And that's probably as best as it's going to get. We're really zoomed in here, so that little bit's not going to be too big of a deal. Let's see. Unzoom. That's probably pretty darn good there.
Long elevator ride.
Yep. All right. So it's a good start. Nice and aligned. And we can then take his clip, bring it back to the beginning so it starts at the beginning. Now we can see his clip he's really big, and that the reason for that is that this sequence, when we started this sequence, we click on our sequence over here, the settings all show up right here. It's a 1280 by 720, so that's what's called 720p HD, so it's not full HD. We tend to work in this for our lesson material because it's a smaller file, so it doesn't add up on your hard drive as much. It's easier and quicker to load and move around as well. So it's still a pretty good quality. You might choose to stay in full HD if space isn't of an issue. But if you're making big e-courses, this starts to add up. And if you've created anything like the Great E-Course Adventure like we have, then you start to really appreciate space. So that's why we are using this here. But Brad's video, if you click on it, there you go. It's 1920 by 1080 size. So it's a little on the large size, but that's okay. We click on it. We come up to our effect controls. We come down to scale. And then with our mouse, we click on it and we just drag it to the left and move it there. That's a little bit better. Now that's about the same size. Boom. Just like that. Not too bad. All right, so next step, the moment of truth, what you've all been waiting for, getting rid of this green fabric behind him and putting him into the shot. The way we do that is we come over to our effect window and we type in key. Simple, simple. That helps us search for what we're looking for, Ultra Key, here in Premiere Pro. If you're using another software, just finding the one that works for you. And all you have to do is you drag this down onto the clip. Bingo. Now it shows up Ultra Key. I'm going to minimize the motion tab, opacity tab, so I can see Ultra Key a lot easier. Now the way this works is we've got a bunch of things going on. Right here, key color, this is where I start. I click this little eyedropper, and that tells me that I can go around and click anything underneath it for that color. So I'm going to find a nice color beside his shoulder here, click that, and presto. We are looking at Brad in the scene. Right away I can tell that the scaling is a little bit off. He looks kind of small compared to me. That's okay, we'll work on it. The color is a little faded compared to the more saturated colors that we've got in the final. That's okay, we're gonna work on that in a little bit too. We've got a little bit of fabric and a little bit of the edge of our green screen. You can see part of our light here too, so we're gonna crop that. First thing though is I want to clean up this key that we've just created. So I'm going to take away and unview this output of video 1 of me. And so therefore we are just looking at this layer. You can see in here, if I zoom in, you can see a whole bunch of artifacting, lots of noise, kind of a funny layer around Brad. It's not going to work all that good. You can see, you can actually see through him a little bit. So we've got some work to do here.
I guess you could.
So, where do we start? Well, actually right now I want to move him and get him looking a little bit more in the shot. So I'm going to come up to my position in the motion tab, move it on over, make him a little bit bigger, bring him down a little bit, bring him over just a smidge more. There, that's looking pretty good. All right, now let's clean up this key. So we're coming down to the Ultra Key section, and this output is where we go. Right now we're looking at the composite shot, so that's telling us that it's using all this awesome technology to clean that up. But what we want to do is click on that and come down to Alpha Channel. And this shows just a simple black and white representation of what's going on in that shot. Everything that's black will be completely transparent. Anything that's white will be completely seen. Anything in between is going to be somewhere in between. What we want to do is get Brad's silhouette here completely white. If we look in really close, by the way, whenever I want to look at my window and I'm hovering over top, or I click a window and I want that bigger, I push my little I don't even know what it's called. It's the key right above tab. It's a little dash, and that makes that bigger. I hit it again. That makes that window go smaller. Same with my timeline. I wanted it bigger, or even over here. So that's just a quick little way. So that's what I'm doing. I can look at it a lot easier. So here we've got some work to do. So click back on my clip. This is where we go into matte generation. Open up that tab. I'm going to move this so I can see a little bit better. There we go. All right, so the first thing that I usually work on is just look at the transparency. So I start moving it back and forth, and you can see, oh, there we go. So Brad would be very transparent now if we went back into the composite. Not what we're looking for. Same with that would be a completely blown out, nothing's going on, right? So we want to find that happy medium. And what I do is just slide it until I start seeing the transparency going away, and there we go. So it's pretty good. Highlight and shadow I don't work with too much. I come down to tolerance and I start moving that back and forth. I try not to ever go to 100%. I always try to stay somewhere between 10 and 90%. I just find it works better around that. And pedestal. There we go. Pedestal's a good one. It cleans it up quite nicely. So again, just bringing it up to 80% seems to look really good. This over here, we're not going to be able to fix that because it's essentially not green, but we're going to eventually crop that out. I'll show you that in a few moments. There we go, our alpha channel looking pretty good. We'll come back to our composite. All right, so now if we play the shot.
Worlds for a living. I have a company called eCourse Adventures, and we help e-course creators, media makers, entrepreneurial
looking pretty good. I can zoom in. So right now this is our zoom level for this window. Right now it's set to fit. So this is the full shot fitting in our window. If we go to 100, now that's actually the 100% of what it looks like. We can even go 150 and looking in, looking pretty good.
Engaging.
And you can see around Brad, if I zoom up to his head,
Entrepreneurial educators.
you know, that's looking actually really good. What we can do to increase, sometimes you might have a little bit of a layer outside the silhouette. What we'll want to do is go matte cleanup. Now choke is, if you watch, it starts taking the edge and bringing it inwards and cleaning up that extended edge. But as you can see, sometimes it's a little bit much, and you can really take off a few pounds, making him a little too skinny and looks really funny.
Engaging, transformational.
So you want to be careful with using choke. I find that about 6, 7, maybe up to 10 for more extreme cases, it's okay. I think I've gotten away with maybe 15, but Each shot will be dependent on what's going on in your key. So we'll just do like a nice, maybe just like a 6 for that choke. And soften does a very similar thing, but it softens the edges. So again, here I'll zoom in so you can see. Now watch the edge as I do this. There we go. It softens from a nice sharp edge to something that blends in just a little bit better. You don't want to go too much with it, for again, it starts taking away your details and looking really silly. So you just want to, again, maybe up to 10, 5 or 6 is pretty nice. There you go. And each shot will be different. You just kind of have to tailor it as you go. Now, contrast is the contrast between the edge of the shot and the background in that green screen. So you can create a little bit of sharpness with that as well. And you can see up here by the hairline, turning the contrast up reduces some of that glow, which is sometimes nice. So I turn that up, let's say 72 for now. And the other one is midpoint. So just again, back and forth, you can see it cuts in a little bit. Too much cut in will take away some details, thin things like fingers, or in our last project, magic wands. So that's something you want to be a little cautious with, but just playing around, finding that sweet spot. There we go, midpoint at 40 today. Awesome. So that's a pretty good start for now. Let's zoom back into fit. Let's look at our composition. There we go. So I think Brad could be a little bit bigger here. So I'm always playing with the scale, getting that just right. He's a little shorter than I am. And
well, I guess you could say I make worlds for a living. I have a company called eCourse Adventures.
There we go. So looks like at this point we've got the Chroma Key. Now we just need to crop this bits and pieces off. We just really need this section. So what we do is we go over to effects, type in crop. Our transform crop effect comes on. We bring it down. It gets layered underneath the effects as they just get layered on every time you pile them on. There we go. And what we want to do is we want to take this off. So we can essentially just boost the right crop line. And you can see there's the right crop line, and clean that up. And there we go. So as long as Brad in the shot does not move past this line, because if it's too hefty right to his edge, you can see when he takes his hand, it's cropped. So you got to be careful with that. But this is a pretty good spot right there. He's not going to come and attack me. There we go. We're looking good. All right, so there we go. We've brought our shot in. We've aligned it using the audio. We took away the green screen. So we've applied the Chroma Key technique. We've cropped it up. It's all looking good. And we'll continue in the next video with getting this color looking a lot more realistic into the shot. That's a big part of blending yourself into the world that we create.